All right. I see already Richard has just joined us. Hello, Richard. Hello, hello. And official
Hello,
welcome
Kalina.
to everybody who joined us today, this afternoon, for this live webinar. My name is Kalina. I'm the Brand and Com Managers here at Relay 42, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. And today, as you guys can see, the topic is journey orchestration. So we're going to talk all about customer journeys. What is journey orchestration? How is it different from simple activation? And most importantly, how you as a marketer can create those omni-channel customer journeys and use actually journey orchestration not just as a tool, as we often tend to think about it, but really as an organizational practice. And to dive into this topic, we have Richard, who many of you here today already know. But for those of you who are not familiar, this is one of our in-house experts. And super happy that you had the time to join us today, Richard, because Richard is a very experienced online marketer, more than 10 years of experience as a strategist. And you're also the customer success manager of some of our biggest customers, KLM, Air France, to name a few. And you're helping them actually build those omnichannel customer journeys. So actually you are the perfect speaker here, the perfect guest to really explain the concept of journey orchestration. So thanks for joining us today, Richard. Before we jump into the topic, because we do have to cover a lot, just a few house rules. Today we are in Demio. This is our webinar platform. And you're going to see us and the presentation at all times on your left-hand side. What's really important is that we have a chat on your right. For privacy purposes, we're going to keep the chat anonymous. This means that you can send us your questions throughout the whole presentation. We're going to see them and we're going to address them in the end. And this is also where our poll is going to show up in just a couple of minutes. So feel free to ask your questions, comments, etc. We're going to see them and we're going to address them in the end of the session. So to start off, actually, we wanted to ask you guys one question, and I'm going to activate the poll in a couple of minutes, because we were actually wondering how familiar are you guys with the concept of journey orchestration? So I'm going to activate this poll. You should be able to see it in a couple of seconds. So, few options. A, I have no prior knowledge, completely acceptable. B, I know the basics, but that's it. C, I have some experience with journey orchestration. Or D, I am an expert. So also to our customers, if there are already some that are experts, now is the time to share. Very curious. I see already the first results coming in. And so far, it's a tie between most people who know the basics and the people who have some experience with journey orchestration, which is great. And we do have a couple of people who have no prior knowledge. So don't worry, we're gonna show also the basics. This is why the title is fundamental. So this is really the basics of journey orchestration. Yeah, and we have, I think we have a few experts here, so that's really nice. So guys, if you have some things also to add to the content, just add it in the chat. Great. I think with this, Richard, you can take it away.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Kalina. So, yeah, as mentioned by Kalina, today we will cover the fundamentals of journey orchestration. We will dive into some details about both technology, but more importantly, journey orchestration as a practice. So, how do you actually make sure that journey orchestration is successful within your organization? So to cover the grounds first, we need to understand, of course, what is journey orchestration. And to start off with, I think what is important to share is also that even though many of marketers tend to orchestrate journeys, personalized journeys, Forrester did some research, and it turns out that only 30% of the marketers or brands actually have the ability to orchestrate these customer journeys at scale. So it means that there is a lot of ground to cover, and that is both from a technical perspective as well as from a organizational perspective, that people are limited in actually building those journeys and orchestrating those journeys in a personalized manner for all their customers. So that's the one thing we wanted to start with before diving into the detail, just to show how big of an impact you could have and what are the possibilities to do. Then we, in order to explain journey orchestration or the basics of journey orchestration, we wanted to just give an example of music and guide you through this, this basic explanation from the standpoint of music, because the importance of orchestrating touch points is important for us as marketeers as well as for musicians. So when you look at this from a music standpoint, we as consumers, we tend to listen to music as a whole. So we listen to a song and we like it or we don't like it, but we listen to a whole of the music, and we don't tend to focus a lot on on individual instruments, or unless you're an expert on an instrument,
unless you are really
will
a musician,
do that,
really hearing those high notes, I think in general it's more of a holistic experience. Yeah.
Indeed, and I think the same goes for a customer journey. So a customer, they expect or they experience a journey as one journey. So they experience every individual touch point that they have as one journey, as well as we listen to a song as being a nice song, and it's all sounds good and it's all in harmony with each other. The same goes for a customer journey. So in fact, a customer doesn't really think in the silos that you as a company might think in. So they don't think in decision funnels, or they don't think in life cycle stages, nor do they even care about your internal KPIs, if you meet your conversion rates, etc. All they care about is their own touch points, and that they are actually tailored to them. So they experience a smooth journey. When we talk about a smooth journey, what we see is that a lot of companies or a lot of marketeers, they dive into their tech stack, and they are looking into ways to let those channels and let those touch points talk to each other. And that's basically the fundament of orchestration. And I think, as Kalina also shared in the introduction, there is quite a difference, of course, in actually using your data to activate upon, or to actually use your data to orchestrate a journey. And to highlight that difference, we want to take that example of music a bit further. So when we talk about data activation, it basically means that you will have data as a central location, and you share that data across to different channels or to different instruments in your tech channel to activate them. So that means that you have some customer data available. So we know Kalina likes jazz, and we even know which songs he likes. So we can share that to all individual instruments to say, okay, play this song for Kalina. But as long as the instrument or the trumpetist or the drummer doesn't know when to start or where to start, you can provide them with the notes and everything. But as every instrument will start on their own time, or they will start all at the same time, but start with different notes, etc., then it becomes complete chaos. So when we drive it back to music, what you need or what you have is oftentimes, of course, an orchestrator. And that's actually where the term orchestration, as in journey orchestration, comes from as well. When we look at it from a perspective of a customer, they follow this journey and they expect that each touch point is in contact with each other. So as soon as you click something or you open something, that whatever you're sent to, that is in line with the behavior that you showed. And the same goes for music. You don't want the piano and the trumpetist to play two complete different songs or two complete different notes. They need to be in harmony. So in order to understand that key part of journey orchestration, I think just keep this thing of music in mind, and tackle that also from your view as a marketeer. So that customer, they expect or they see this as one journey. They see all the touch points as being linked to each other. They don't know that a Facebook marketeer is someone else than the people that are responsible for your website, or the people that are responsible for your sales funnel or for your booking flow or whatever. They know that they all see it as one experience. So they expect that experience that they have, that is flown through all those touch points, even though they might be different teams internally, or they might be different people that are responsible for that touch point. It is good that it's all linked to each other, and
yeah,
that
and I think
everything works in
also
harmony.
just a small point here, which I think
And
is
that
also
is
really important, that we working in marketing, being marketers, we're kind of in tune, if I follow your metaphor, with certain channels, right? If somebody is like a social media marketer, you're really in tune into following what's happening there. Whereas, yeah, as consumers for other brands, right, that maybe we're not working for, we're experiencing it more holistically. But yeah, you and I, we also like comment on certain, campaigns or visuals because we're just so much into, maybe sometimes into a certain channel, focusing really on how this is performing. And sometimes maybe, ignoring the rest or not really seeing how the rest is in sync, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and as mentioned, what you see is a lot of marketeers or a lot of organizations. They then tend to go into their tech stack. So what we wanted to start with as well is that indeed journey orchestration or journey orchestration platform can be the connecting vector in your tech stack. And talking about that, what you see in an average marketing stack is that on first, it might seem pretty complete already. So an average marketing stack will have availability of data. So you have your CRM data, you have the data warehouse where there's lots of data available for you to use as a marketeer. Next to that, you have your analytics, so you know how people behave on your website so that you can actually act upon it, and you have your dashboards to report on, etc. So the data, that's oftentimes fully covered. And when we look into the capabilities, they seem pretty complete as well. You see that there is a lot of tools already in place for most organizations when it comes to automation. So automating certain workflows, automating certain campaigns, etc. So there is automation in place. There is experimenting capabilities available. So you're able to do A/B tests, to do multivariate testing. And the same goes for AI or machine learning. So a lot of marketers actually already have access to some sort of AI, whether it's internal models or models outside of the platform or in specific channels. Marketers oftentimes already have access to AI as well. And when we look on the right side, the activation channels, yeah, every one of us is familiar with either one of these channels, or maybe even with all of them, or responsible for multiple of them. But you see on the activation side that most marketers or most organizations at least have all these channels in place, and all these channels can be activated. They can do that sometimes even in an automated way based on data, etc. So on first, what we see in the average marketing stack is that it looks pretty complete. But when we actually dive into that marketing stack and drill it a bit down, what you see is that even though they look complete, they're a bit siloed because these capabilities live outside of one platform. So the capabilities are available either in multiple different platforms or in multiple different channels, or these capabilities, they have no way of talking to each other. So when you look at automation, for instance, what you see is that oftentimes automation is limited to your own channels only. So automation tools, they most of the times come from an email background. So they are pretty good at automating your emails, but as soon as you also need to automate channels outside of their scope, it already becomes a bit more complicated. And we see that actually for the other capabilities as well. So looking at experimenting, what you see is that experimenting is oftentimes available per channel. So you see that you can set up an A/B test within your email, or you can set up multiple variants of your advertisement within the advertising platform, and you can report then on the performance based on that advertisement, based on that email that has been sent. But the experimenting oftentimes is limited to that individual channel or to that individual message even. But there is not yet a solid way to actually experiment across channels. So what happens if we send out an email first and then start activating Facebook? Or what happens if we send out this email and then send an SMS? Or if you change sequence of channels, etc. Oftentimes this is not possible in your current experimentation.
I think usually indeed the experimentation is limited to the, let's say, email system that you use, for example. Yeah.
Or on site, or even within Facebook, just testing different copies of your advertisement. But they are again not talking to each other. So whatever experiment you're running in your email channel, it doesn't reflect back in what you do in Facebook or what you do on your website, and they are not linked to each other. So that way you see that gets fragmented, and that's actually siloed decisions that are being made, and siloed reports come out of what is successful, etc. as well. And same goes actually for the third capability. So when you enhance AI, what you see is a lot of channels are actually offering AI. So when it comes to lookalike models within different channels, or when it comes to deciding the right moment to send an email, or even creating the content of an email, there's a lot of AI available in the different platforms. But what's oftentimes is missing is, okay, how can we leverage the insights that we get from AI, or the actions that come from AI, across different channels? So if we know that someone would typically interact with an email on a specific time, then yeah, shouldn't we exclude him from specific campaigns until we send that email? Or shouldn't we use the information about, okay, this is a customer that meets specific criteria, or that fits into a specific profile? Shouldn't we then send them the same message across different platforms? That is oftentimes not possible in the way AI is currently being used, because it's so siloed in the different channels, or the different tools that the AI is available in. And that all combined results actually in, or it actually defeats the purpose of what you want to achieve with all these automation, experimentation, and AI, because you would like to have one solid experience for your customer, but in the end, because you have all these capabilities running alongside each other, you get inconsistent messages, you get even conflicting messages, because you are testing something in one channel and you're testing something differently in another channel, and those two messages, somehow they get intertwined, but they are not the same. So people actually experience it as inconsistent or even conflicting messages. And because they are so siloed, you see that both the decisions are made in those silos. So decisions on whether or not something is successful or not, those are also made on the exact same silos as where the test is being run. And that often leads or comes from the third result that we see, because these reports are scattered. So you see the results from one end and not from the other end. And therefore, you make decisions that are not broad enough, or not across all the channels, or across all the touch points that a customer actually sees. So you're making decisions based on just a fraction of the data that is available, or just a fraction of the impact that you actually make.
Yeah, it can get quite messy sometimes, right? Like, I think, who hasn't experienced of, traveling somewhere and something goes wrong with the flight, and then you receive those email of like, how did you enjoy your flight? And you're like, I'm still stuck here, haven't left. Yeah. It's one of those things in which that something just goes automatically without taking into account, let's say, disruptions that the customer can have. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And that's exactly the point, of course, of, okay, why is then journey orchestration so important? That's actually because journey orchestration, it basically turns things around. So rather than thinking from the different capabilities that you have and activating those different capabilities separately, you put one layer above, or one layer on top, which is actually your journey orchestration tool. And a journey orchestration tool can then manage what should happen at what point in time, and make sure that everything you do is connected to each other. So that way you have the possibility to build those relevant messages and build those consistent messages, because there's one central place that decides, okay, now the email channel should do something, or now Facebook should show a message. And because it's all centralized, that decision is the exact same. So rather than pushing data to Facebook, or pushing data to the email channel to make a decision within that channel, you basically already say, okay, dear Facebook, show this message to this person, and their email solution, send out this email to this people, to this person, or this group of people. So by taking things in a centralized approach, and actually, orchestrating the journey from that central tool, it allows you to build those omni-channel experiences, and also to experiment across that journey. So rather than just testing variant A and variant B of a specific message, it allows you to test different sequences. So as I just mentioned, what happens if we first send an email and then activate Facebook, versus what happens if we start with activating the social media campaigns, and if someone doesn't interact with them, then send an email, or what if we call this person first before we send them an email, or the other way around. That those kind of tests you can do when you do that from a central orchestrated place. And this also allows you to leverage your AI or leverage the outcomes of your AI to use that in decisions that you make within the journey. So it basically centralizes everything as well as your data. So therefore, centralized journey data will become available, actually giving you the insights on how do people behave within that journey, and how do they flow through that journey, and how can you actually optimize that journey to perform better across the channels, across the different capabilities that you already have in your stack. So I think an important thing is also you shouldn't see a journey orchestration tool as a replacement, but you should see it rather as an enhancement of your marketing stack to do things better. So a journey orchestration tool should, well, in most cases, don't want to say not in any case, but in most cases, shouldn't replace an existing tool. It should be an added layer to actually get the most out of it.
And to do those experiments, for example, what you were saying, to do those cross-channel A/B/C testings to see really what works and maybe what sequence would bring the best results.
Yeah. So that is one part, right? So when we talk about this, it almost feels like, you need this tool and then everything is solved. But I think, and that's one of the main messages that we want to bring across today as well, that to us, a journey orchestration platform is only a part of the puzzle. So you can have a Ferrari, but if you drive it in the Netherlands, then why would you need a Ferrari? Because you can't go any faster than 100 kilometers per hour. So the platform is one thing, but actually being able to use it, having the skills to actually do it, that is a second thing. Or as we say, the platform is a part of the puzzle. And it's funny because there's even a quote in one of the older Forrester reports that describes this very well. And the quote basically says, journey orchestration is broader. It's not just a tool. It's actually a practice. So you can have the fanciest tool around there, but if you don't have the right people, or you don't have the right skills to actually use the most out of that platform, and if you don't have the right reporting lines internally, then you will never get to the maximum result of journey orchestration, and you will still be stuck to that inconsistent messages and to those siloed decisions. So if we break that down to the puzzle and we say, okay, journey orchestration as a platform is one piece of the puzzle, then there's actually some other puzzle pieces that you need to complete that puzzle. And one thing would be to have the right skills and the right people. So have the right persons that actually use the tool, that actually configure everything, that guide you in the right direction. But you also need the right governance. So you need support from the right people in your organization to actually embed journey orchestration as a practice in your organization, have the right reporting lines, have the right people to make decisions when it's needed, have the right people to actually tell people what to do and when to do it, and have the right lines within your organization to make this actually happen. And maybe even the most important, and we will dive in each of these three a bit more in detail, but one of the most important things is the actual operational model. So how, if you have all those people, if you have support from the right people, if you have the right reporting in place, it still comes down to the operational model. So how do you actually make this work? Because the way we are structured now, are we even able to do it? And if not, what are the changes that we need to configure in our operational model to make it work? So in order to complete this entire puzzle called journey orchestration, we all need these pieces to fit together, and we need all these pieces available in order to be successful in journey orchestration. So to dive a bit deeper into each of these items, especially the operational part, starting with the skills and the people. So important factor in order to make journey orchestration successful is actually have a core team of people that are focusing on journey orchestration. So it doesn't really matter how your organization is structured. You need people that actually think in journeys, that think in that customer experience, and that are actually willing to set it up in the right way. And for that, you need that from both a strategic line. So you need the strategic support, you need the steering committee to actually define that orchestration direction. So where do we want to go to? What is the experience that we want to deliver? What is the end goal to journey orchestration? But you also need that layer of a operational team, so the actual team that is orchestrating those journeys, or the team that is actually building the journeys in all those channels, in all those tools that you have available. And there's some crucial roles that you need. So you need a person that owns that process, a orchestrator or a project lead or product owner, whatever you want to name it, a person that is actually the owner of that operational process and actually making sure that people talk to each other, but also that all the channels talk to each other and all the channels and all the data are connected. But next to that, you also need the channel expertise. You need the people to actually analyze the data, etc. And you need marketing expertise. You need user experience expertise. So you need a lot of people to actually think about, okay, how do we want to configure these journeys? And as mentioned, just having the right skills or the right people, that's not enough if you don't have the right support or the right ownership or the right structure within your organization to actually do this. So when we talk about governance, so actual owning of that journey orchestration practice or a journey orchestration program or whatever you want to call it internally, you need the right people to take ownership of that entire program in your organization. So you need people that own the topic, that have the expertise, that are able to share the expertise within the organization, and that are also able to either execute or let people execute that expertise, as well as report back on the results and actually showcase that it is successful, or when it's not successful, make decisions on tweaking it, etc. So what we see is there's basically two directions that you can go. You can either choose for what we call a center of excellence, which is basically a centralized group that owns that program and that owns all the expertise and basically tells other people in the execution layer, okay, this is how to best execute it. So they are just a center of knowledge, a center of excellence. They have all the knowledge, and now they know how to do this best, and they basically tell all the departments, tell all the people this should be done then, etc., in order to make it successful. But the second direction you should go or could go, and that's actually one that we always support, is work more from a orchestration council. So basically a group of people that owns that process, a group of people that owns the expertise, that is working also on that operational level. So representatives from the different departments all coming together in one central group, rather than that you have a group of people that is outside of the actual process making decisions. You have a group of people that actually work with journey orchestration and actually are practicing journey orchestration, that they are all coming together in one group. And that is crucial, of course, then to think about your operational model, because if we look at a operational model, journey orchestration or addressing journey orchestration as a practice means that you need availability across teams if you don't centralize them into one team. And those expertise, they need to be available. They either need to be made available or they need to be added to a group that talks about or is actually practicing what they preach, so is actually doing the journey orchestration, as well as for KPIs. So what we see now a lot is a lot of organizations, they work with team KPIs or they work with department KPIs. So there are certain KPIs that you as a department or you as a team are responsible for, whereas that could lead to decisions. Okay, yeah, I really want to email this group of people because I know they will convert, and I need to meet my KPIs of X% conversion or X conversions or X revenue or whatever. Whereas maybe for the broader decision, so for the broader perspective of the company, it would make sense to say, okay, we are not sending this group of people an email because they will convert anyway. We don't want to bother them with an email, or we don't want to target them via paid channels because they are frequent buyers or they are loyal customers. So why even spend money on them? So those are decisions that, or KPIs that need to shift maybe also from a team level to an overarching company or overarching
And
orchestration
Richard, would this be a
and
decision that the council that
in order
you just suggested, can discuss and decide upon? All those decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, so indeed, that group of people will make the decisions on what to do, when to meet those KPIs. But there is actually, of course, the managerial or the C-level, I would say, that needs to embed this more as, okay, this is a way we want to go in order to, for you as a team or for people that are a bit lower in the hierarchy, that they have the availability to actually do this. And that means that the setting of goals might need to change, or the defining or the splitting of goals over the teams need to change. And that is, of course, something not, you can't do from an operational or from a lower level management. That is maybe a decision that needs to be made a bit higher up. And I think, the last part of the operational piece is how to make sure that this is an ongoing process and that it actually is successful over the long run, is to embed a joint workflow that strives for that success. So apart from having these joint KPIs, think of the workflow to focus on those KPIs and, okay, what is then the best decision to be made at what point in time to actually meet those objectives and to actually talk to each other and come to the right use case or the right journey steps and to the right journey to actually be successful. And for that, you need to think again into, okay, how are you currently structured? And this is just an example of what we oftentimes see. So when we talk about current operational models, you see that there's a lot of siloed teams, and now you see these are channel teams, but this can be anything, right? We see organizations where there are teams are split per funnel stage. So you have an awareness team, you have a decision team, you have a conversion team, or they are split per product. So you have a team responsible for commodity, a team responsible for solar panels or sustainable products, and a team responsible for other products. So there's different team structures, but I think it all comes down to, in the end, there's a team, there's people in that team, and that team owns a set of KPIs, and all those people are focusing on their individual KPIs. So paid social team in this example, they need to meet X conversions, or they need to make get a ROAS of 150% or something like that. And for that, they make decisions to actually impact their KPIs. That might not be the best decision, because it is, of course, easier to get your frequent flyer to convert as an airline, for instance, than to get a complete new customer that you don't know to convert. So, yeah, if you're a bit behind on KPIs, you might make decisions. Yeah, let's just target our frequent flyers again, and then we'll up our KPIs. Well, that might not be the best experience for that frequent flyer. He might not want to be bothered on Facebook, because he will choose for your airline anyway, because he always flies with you. So looking at it from an orchestration perspective, it might not make sense to make that decision. And therefore, we would say, if you would put that in one layer and basically say, okay, you can still live or work in those silos as an organization. So you can still have your expertise per channel or have your expertise per product or per funnel stage, but let them at least talk to each other. So create that orchestration layer where you say, okay, we have representatives from each team, and they all participate in that orchestration team, where there is a orchestrator or project lead, whatever, in charge of aligning all those people from those different departments, from those different teams, to work towards one objective or work toward the same objective as a orchestration team, rather than as a siloed channel or a siloed department or team or what have you. Work towards the KPIs as a orchestration team, so work towards a broader revenue goal or a broader conversion goal. And then it doesn't really matter if email actually gets the conversion or paid social gets the conversion, or if that person first decides to get a electricity contract before he buys solar panels, or whatever, in order to actually feed the customer with something that is most relevant for them at that moment. Therefore, you need to have these teams align with each other and think of what is the best way, what is the best message to send at this moment.
And it's especially in bigger organizations where, you know, those channels or silos, even, you know, depending on the division, they might not be even located on the same floor. Those people might not be, you know, maybe they don't know each other. And I think we've heard those from customers doing those alignment sessions, that they were also just really happy to sit around the same table and have a discussion. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we see indeed some customers that they need to introduce to each other when we have a joint meeting, so that there is different teams or different departments that haven't ever spoken to each other. So there's actually an introduction round while you sit with people from the same organization. So yeah, it really is something we see, and especially in bigger organizations, as one of the main challenges, is how to bring all those people together. And that, again, that is a broader topic that might need to go way up in the organization to actually get this done properly. And I think that's also one of the things, right? It's just it's good to know these things and to be aware of this, but we're definitely not saying to tackle everything all at once. There is ways to start this small, just with a few teams, see what happens, and then as soon as results come in, the broader organization will get interested, and there will be ways to actually expand this. But yeah, it is good to be aware before diving into the rabbit hole of journey orchestration, to be aware of the impact that it has, and the things that actually come in play when you talk about journey orchestration. So with that, we covered the silo teams and how you can bring them or need to bring them together in order to make journey orchestration successful. And again, you could have the tool, but if the teams don't talk to each other, then you will build journeys for just paid social or just display, or maybe those two teams talk to each other, so you build a journey just for these two channels. But yeah, find ways to bring all the relevant channels together and actually orchestrate the journey across all of these channels. And a way to do that, and not diving into details, because this is something that especially our known customers, they are aware that we very much support working in what we call a test and learn workflow. So actually start from your objective, start from your overarching strategy, and then think of, okay, what should be the next use case or the next step on the journey, and actually work that out, look at the details to actually prioritize it and launch it and then test it. So work with a control group and a variant, see which one performs better, and then make decisions based on that. And again, I don't want to dive too much into details, because this is also a topic
we'll send the slides.
Ask us about,
we'll send the
or
slides so people can dive into this on their own. I know this is your specialty, but for now, just to give an idea of what this, workflow can look like, there are some steps, and it's good to have a methodology and to follow the right order. Yeah, to have a plan. It's good to have a plan.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, and then to close it off, we also want to highlight, just an example of how journey orchestration can help. And I think it's good to mention here that there was actually a need for airlines when it came to in a corona situation. So in pandemic, they faced a situation that they never faced before, and this actually allowed them to sit together and think about, okay, how can we do things better or more efficient? So this use case comes from a background of, we really need to do things differently. And so what happened, just to describe the situation and describe what actually happened from a journey orchestration perspective. There was this COVID situation. So customers actually bought tickets. They booked the tickets for a trip in 2020. At that point in time, there is in your CRM, there is this ticket available. So you know that these people go on holiday, and then someday COVID turned out and showed up, and that meant for most airlines, they needed to cancel their flights, etc. And So those people that already booked a flight, they most of them they got a voucher. Some people got their money back, but most of them they got a voucher, and that is an important factor in this whole story, because that voucher is something that they can transfer again into an actual flight. Whereas if they would need to pay back money to every individual that booked a flight, there would be a serious cash problem for airlines that were in this situation. So first, there is the triggering of the actual voucher, and storing that people actually have a voucher and having that data available to orchestrate the journey, because we all know COVID came to some sort of an end later on.
Hopefully,
So people
yes.
started diving into,
Hopefully it's behind us.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. So people started already back in 2001 to go back and travel again. But there was for airlines this important factor of, okay, we still have people that have vouchers. We don't want to pay them the actual money. We'd rather have them to actually book a ticket again. So how do we make sure that people actually spend their voucher on a ticket rather than that we have to pay them money again, or that they ask for money rather than that they spend their voucher? So they actually needed to think of ways to to not spend too much money on these users, make them aware of the fact that they have a voucher, because they didn't want to pay them back money, because that was like a sword above their head. If they would have to pay each and every individual back, that would cause huge problems. So for those individuals with a voucher that started searching for new travel options again, it was highly important to have that data available, and to also start first with channels that are a bit cheaper. So as soon as a visitor is recognized, okay, this is a voucher holder, they decided, okay, these people, we want to make them aware of the voucher. Maybe they forgot about it because it was 1 year, 1.5 years after they actually received the voucher. We need to make them aware of the fact that they need to spend that voucher first, and actually use that voucher to book their ticket. So that they sent an email, and they actually used also partly AI in their emails to look at other destinations that are relevant to the destinations that they booked before, or destinations that they are actively searching for. So they actually showed them some offers. Okay, you have an active voucher, and you can use this voucher to book your next trip. But if a user then would not directly respond to it, that would be the case to say, okay, now we want to spend some money on it, not a lot of money, but we want to spend some money to try and convert these users. So before we start retargeting this user in the exact same way as we did in the past, by directly spending money on paid ads, we first try it via an email. So again, this was just a low step or a low involvement journey, a first step for them as well to try that and to see, okay, what happens if we first email those people, and if they don't respond, then start with the paid ads. And yeah, in the end, the goal was, of course, to convince all those users to spend their voucher and actually book a holiday, and for them to get rid of those vouchers and do that in the cheapest
And
way
also a bit of the
possible, not
nicest way,
spending too
right?
much
Because
money.
you could also, suddenly people are on a different, they can be inspired to book for another destination, right? But they could still use this voucher. So it was good for the airline to also provide those options, so that people didn't feel stuck within this destination, the original destination, so to say.
Indeed, yeah. And so looking at what that looked like, yeah, it's basically they build a journey in the platform that actually, or at first they sat around the table with the different teams. Okay, what is it we can do? So who do we want to send an email? Who do we want to send a push message? And then it is actually configuring those to make it a bit to make it manageable. So they made this journey that actually decides, okay, are you opted in for email, yes or no? Are you opted in for push messaging, yes or no? So there's actually an entire structure behind it that made the decision when to send the email, when to start the campaign on paid channels, etc. And the good thing is that they put a control group next to it. So they did a B group where they didn't do the sequencing. So they basically said, okay, we retarget people the exact same way as we did in the past. As soon as you do a flight search, we retarget you via paid channels. They now said we build a journey where we first try via the free channel, see if you have an opt-in, and if yes, then we would try to convert you via the own channels, so the free channels, before we target you via the paid channels. And actually, the nice insight was that they actually got higher conversion rates from the journey approach. So actually following up the different messages compared to the single source activation that they did in the past. And this is also a reason for the airlines to build further on that journey orchestration practice, because they now did this first test, it was successful, and now they want more and want to find out, okay, how can we do this outside of the COVID situation and vouchers? How can we segment the right people, and how can we, based on those segments, decide who to do, what to do first, and what to follow up, etc. So that we wanted to share as a final piece before diving
well,
into
thanks a lot, Richard.
Q&A.
This was really great information. And again, we're going to send the slides. Also really cool to see how our customer that you helped actually put this into practice. We did get a few questions already, and and now is the time if you guys have any more questions. We have a couple of minutes, but we're going to start with the first ones that we received. Yes, the first question was, is there a difference between customer journey orchestration and next best actions, or are those two actually referring to the same concept?
No, I think there is a difference there. I think next best action is more or less a mechanism, oftentimes built within AI or within a model, to decide, okay, what should we show a person based on a set of historic data, or based on customer data that is available. So that is very much focusing on, okay, we should, let's say from an airline perspective, we should offer this person extra leg room as a next best action, because we know they use that in the past, and this is most relevant for them. They haven't booked it yet. So next best action is more or less, okay, this is an offer that is ready for a user, or this is something that we should propose to this user. But customer journey orchestration is a bit broader. You can use MBA to trigger a step in a journey, or even trigger maybe an entire journey, but customer journey orchestration actually focus on what happens after that, or what happens besides that as well. So what if you offer someone that extra leg space, but he decides to search for a flight to New York? Then you don't want to bother that user anymore with that extra leg room. No, you straight away want to go into, okay, this person is in buying mode for a ticket again. We want to focus our orchestration now on actually converting him to buying that ticket to New York rather than the extra leg room, even though that is the action that might be next best based on your models. So there is, I think, a difference, and it all comes to the details. Okay, what is then the actual customer behavior at that moment? And again, NBA can be a crucial part of journey orchestration, but journey orchestration is broader as well. What happens if someone does not take that next best action?
Right.
Then you should have an alternative route,
or you might
you should
even
think
stop
of a potential
marketing,
alternative
right?
route.
If there's some interruption, maybe you want to pause the communication for some time, you know, so that's more from a, reducing frustration potentially, let's say, but then in the long term, having a better relationship with this customer. Cool. The very nice question, because I think both concepts are quite, now they're buzzwords. We hear them very often. Okay, moving on. Next question. I think after your case, we got a question about the mechanics for connecting paid ads. Do you have insights on how this took place for this specific use case?
Yeah, so this happens via the server-to-server, so API connections that we have with the paid channels. And of course, especially in this case, it is known customers, right? So, and that's why I also said there is, within that journey, there was also the decisioning, okay, do we have the right opt-in to send someone an email? Do we have the right opt-in to actually activate, for instance, Facebook based on their email? Or don't we have that consent? Then it goes into a cookie-based activation, because then there might only be consent for cookie-based activation rather than based on, for instance, an email hash. But because this was very much, this use case especially was very much focused also on known customers, people that have a voucher, they could activate those channels via the APIs that we have with Google, Facebook, etc. that leverage personal
So you need to
identifiers
have
like
this
you will have.
connection established. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's part of the tooling, right? So toolings will have these connections available for you to use. Yeah.
Cool. Two more questions, and I think then we can wrap this up. So, what are the best? Are there any best practices or established ways for measuring the success of customer journeys or journey steps? Campaigns tend to be simple and linear, but journeys have many steps, and I'm not sure how you should measure that. Good question.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think it comes down to a piece of journey analytics, right? So making sure that whatever happens within that journey that you orchestrated, that you capture that within an analytics platform, whether that's within your journey analytics platform or that is an external analytics platform that is to be decided, of course, by you. But it is important to capture how do people actually flow through that journey. So if you send out an email, what is the open rate on those emails, and also centralizing that data, get that back into your journey to build the analytics on those actions. And especially when you're running experiments, you want to see, okay, does it perform better or not than the other? So bringing the data back into that central place is crucial in order to define success for your journeys as well. So it's not just activating, it's also analyzing the results and actually getting the data back into that centralized platform. And then whether you show it in a BI dashboard or whatever that is for you, how do you report on it? But it is crucial that that information comes back to that same platform that orchestrates it in order to actually report
and whether the goals were met or not yet, or there's more work to be done. All right. Well, one last question, which we got. So how does this differ from marketing automation software? I can imagine, indeed, it looks a bit like automation because we create automated flows. But what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think there's multiple answers to it, and I don't want to be too much salesy, but there's of course automation tools that come from a way different background than an actual orchestration tool. So an orchestration tool, as Relay 42, focuses very much on especially the real-time aspect of things. So things change within that journey, and you want to interact on that change. So the same as I just answered on the MBA, you can offer something, but if someone shows different behavior, you want the orchestration tool to in real time change then the messaging to whatever comes next or whatever is best to do next. And what you see from the older marketing platforms is that real-time capability, even though a lot of people say they are real-time, there is oftentimes delays, and those delays can cause again inconsistent messaging, you sticking to one thing because there is this delay, and keep pushing the same messaging out there. So I think that the key difference of a core journey orchestration and to do it properly as well is to do that in real time. And I think that is also regarding the question, how does Relay 42 differ from the other platforms? It really is that real time part. We have an event-based structure, which means that every event is being processed in real time. So we can act upon it as soon as the event comes in. We can already trigger a next step in the journey or an alternative messaging or anything that is needed in order to meet that event that came in. And I think that is a crucial difference between let's say an orchestrator from the start towards the automation platforms that are also more and more going into journey orchestration. And I think the second part is the actual connectivity to other channels. So a lot of the older platforms, they have limited connections, or they don't have all the connections to the platforms you want to communicate to. And I think that Relay 42 is a tool that is built from a best of breed solution. So we want to connect to anything, or want to be able to connect to anything, whether that's on the data collection side, so being able to consume whatever data you have available or whatever data comes from any channel, as well as on the activation channel. We want to be as flexible as possible to connect to any data in or then data outsource, and do that part in real time to make sure that that's
nice.
happens.
Well, thanks so much. If we haven't addressed all the questions, let's reach out to we're going to reach out to you guys individually and continue the conversation. For now, I think we can wrap this up. And of course, as always, feel free to connect with us, with Richard, with me. We're going to send you this presentation in the coming days. So watch out for your email. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, everyone. And thanks, Richard, for your time this afternoon. Bye.
Thank you.